elect reviewed Senate. Wild bear that sniffed woman's hair caught and castrated in Mexico. Details of these and more after this break. I am Omoye Ogbaide. U.S. President Donald Trump was escorted out of a news conference after Secret Service agents shot and wounded a man who claimed to be armed outside the White House. The Secret Service said the incident happened 1 block from the compound where an officer fired on a suspect who had run aggressively towards him. An agent then walked on stage as Trump was speaking and led him away. The president returned minutes later to say the situation was under control. The U.S. Secret Service said the incident happened on Monday on the corner of 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue outside the White House perimeter. He said a 51-year-old man who has not been identified approached the officer, told him he had weapons and assumed the shooter's stance, whereupon the officer shot him in the torso. The Secret Service did not say whether the man was armed. It ordered that both the officer and the suspect were taken to hospital and that at no time during this incident was the White House complex breached. After Trump and his staff left, doors to the briefing room were locked with the journalists inside. And Egyptians have started voting for the Senate that was revived after last year's constitutional referendum. Tuesday's poll will see 200 members elected by public vote to the upper chamber of parliament, which has an advisory role and few formal powers. The remaining 100 senators are appointed by the president. The country's lower chamber, the House of Representatives, has a legislative role. The election comes at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. Egypt has the second highest number of cases on the continent after South Africa. Authorities have said voters will be given face masks and polling stations are to be disinfected to prevent the spread of the virus. And Slovakia is to expel 3 staff from Russian embassy in the capital, with local media reporting it is related to the murder of a Georgian man in Berlin last year. Authorities cited the abuse of Slovak visas as reason for the expulsion. Germany has accused Russia of ordering the murder of a former Chechen rebel, Zilma Khan. The 40-year-old was shot in broad daylight last August in Berlin's Kleinen Park. A Russian national identified as Vadim K has been charged with the murder. An investigative website, billingcart.com, have reported that one of those suspected of planning the murder has traveled to the EU on a Slovak visa. And protests have taken place for 3rd consecutive night in Lebanon's capital, Beirut, amid mounting anger over the devastating explosion a week ago that reportedly killed more than 200 people. Clashes broke out near the parliament building, where demonstrators throwing fireworks and police firing tear gas. Hours earlier, the Lebanese cabinet submitted its resignation. Prime Minister Hassan Diab blamed the blast on years of endemic corruption, but avoids taking responsibility. A fire is believed to have caused the detonation of 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate that had been stored for 6 years without safety measures at Beirut's port. The blast wave flattened nearby buildings and caused extensive damage over much of the rest of the city, leaving hundreds of thousands of people homeless. Lebanon was already struggling with an unprecedented economic crisis before the disaster, with families pushed into poverty and hunger. Diab, a university professor who took office in January with the support of Iran-backed Hezbollah movement and its allies following the resignation of the previous government, blamed last week's blast on an entrenched political elite. The UN said on Tuesday the World Food Programme would be spending 50,000 tons of wheat flour in Beirut to stabilize the national supply and ensure that there is no food shortage in the country, with 17,500 tons arriving within 2 weeks. Hong Kong's Apple Daily newspaper has vowed to fight on after the arrest of owner Jimmy Lai under the controversial security law imposed by Beijing. In extraordinary scenes streamed by the paper on Monday, a handcuffed Lai was led through his newsroom as nearly 200 police officers raided the building. The pro-democracy activist was among 10 people arrested on charges including colluding with foreign forces. The move sparked global condemnation of the escalating crackdown on dissent. In some parts of the city, Hong Kongers were seen queuing for a copy of as vendors reported selling out the popular tabloid founded by Lai. The paper, which offers a rare and unvarnished take on Hong Kong and China's leadership, said more than 500,000 copies were printed, up from the usual 100,000. Lai, who is viewed as a hero by many in Hong Kong for his direct criticism of Beijing's top leadership, is the highest profile detainee under use in the new legislation so far. But on the mainland, he has long been labeled a traitor. Hours after his arrest, prominent youth activists Agnes Chow and Wilson Lee, a freelance journalist, were also arrested under the same law. And finally, there is outrage in Mexico after a black bear seen on video approaching a visitor in a nature park and sniffing her hair was caught and castrated. Some people are questioning plans to move the animal to a different state. But experts say the move is necessary because it has become accustomed to being fed by humans in the ecological park where it lived. They said the footage showed the consequences of feeding wild animals for the sake of a selfie. Officials say there had been other close encounters between humans and the same bear in the park and in residential areas nearby. Bear research scientists said although attacks are rare, one person a year is killed on average by a black bear in North America. The bear was captured by officials from the Federal Environmental Protection Agency while having a snooze in the backyard of a house after its residents alerted the authorities to their unexpected guest. The animal was also castrated, a move which is now being investigated by the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. The agency has released a statement saying that the decision to castrate the bear was taken by the coordinator of wildlife at the university after consulting with the country's Director General for Wildlife Control, Martin Vargas Preto. And that's KFM's news around the world. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. President Trump escorted out of briefing as man shot near White House. Egyptians head to polls to elect revived Senate. And wild bear that snipped woman's hair caught and castrated in Mexico. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. Coronavirus is real. Wash your hands regularly with soap under running water and stay safe. KUFM's News Around the World was produced by Lebedum Asagwaram. I am Omoyo Ogbaide saying thanks for listening. Good afternoon.